All right, so I've been seeing a lot of news about Ana Kasparian from the Young Turks apparently leaving the left. Some people are saying that she's going to the right wing. I know that's not the case, but let's get into this anyway.
Young Turks' Ana Kasparian is catching heat for saying she has left the left.
I'm going through something very real and very sincere, and it's uncomfortable, and it has not been an enjoyable process for me. It's been difficult. And so the internet being what it is, all sorts of people from all sorts of political ideologies have theories on like what's actually happening with me, right? And the main accusation, both from the left and the right, is that I'm grifting, which is
Okay, so when you're a public figure, unfortunately, you have to deal with crap like this. The fact that people are saying she's grifting, it's like, come on, guys. Do you not see the Young Turks? Do you? I don't understand why people think everybody has to have like this monolithic mindset. She obviously thinks a little bit differently from Shank, but they align on so many things. She aligns with progressives on so many things, and she thinks that a lot of the left is extreme, which in my opinion is true. So anyway.
hilarious because literally nothing has changed about my work life. I'm in the same place. I have the same audience. The audience doesn't like some of what I have to say or some of the new conclusions I've come to. And so I wanted to kind of set the record straight about what I have personally experienced. I don't know what my political labels are at this point, right? Because I feel like I don't really fit anywhere. And that's just full honesty. It's, again, very uncomfortable for me. And I want to say that out of any point in my adult life, this is probably the point where I'm the most malleable and open to new.
So what I like about this, or about what she said there, is that she said that she said that basically she's open, malleable. I don't know if this is the correct word choice because people are going to run away with that and say, oh, it means that you're going to be influenced by the right. I don't necessarily think that it means that because obviously she's very smart. She has a lot of experience in this field. She has a lot of context. She has a lot of understanding. So for people to say that she's just going to go off to the right or something like that, it's just, come on, guys.
Comes after a transgender producer employed by the Young Turks posted a video sharing that they are leaving the network over what they say is Kasparian and co-host Cenk Uyghur's complicity in anti-LGBTQ sentiment.
Friend of the show.
And I saw this before. I do remember watching that video, and that's when I fell down the rabbit hole. I was like, oh no, is the internet saying it and people online are saying it? Is Ana really anti-trans? Like I really hope that she's not anti-trans. Obviously, that's a hateful thing to be. But then I went down the rabbit hole and I did my research and I watched the video of the trans person there, and I realized, oh no, this is just like extreme leftism. I think, in my opinion, she's not anti-trans. She's said it the opposite so many times. Anyway, I think that they will probably end up getting into the details of that in this video on the Hill. So let's just go ahead and continue.
Eliami Olerin weighed in on the drama. She actually popped in on a live stream of a YouTube show called The Vanguard Boys to offer her perspective as they were covering the Ana Kasparian commentary and basically expressed some frustration that despite trying to stay out of it, she recently went on Young Turks to very patiently try to push back against some of the takes that they've had with respect to criminal justice issues. She, as a public defender, has a lot of expertise in that area and a very distinct position that was different from theirs. And she has been tried to like have constructive conversations in her view and been very cordial and polite to them. And still, she gets a lot of pushback of a less cordial nature, I think is how she would describe it. And so there was some frustration that she expressed that even though everyone has kind of gone out of their way to try to be patient with Ana Kasparian and to give her a lot of grace as a member of the community, that there was some frustration with how she's characterizing how she's being treated by the.
So here's the thing. I think the left, there's extremes on both sides, but I think on the left, and I'm left myself, obviously this is a progressive channel, but I think that there is a such thing as too far in any direction, and a lot of those people are just too far, and that's what Ana's dealing with. She's a normal person who grew to fame through their journalism, and now she's dealing with the effects of other people's opinions and what they think that she should be thinking. Other people trying to tell you how to think. It's frustrating.
Left. Whether or not you want to call it a grift or what have you.
What does grift And what does grift even mean at this point? I would use that word to describe someone, I guess, who I suspect is insincerely pretending to change their beliefs for more clout or to reach a bigger audience or different audience.
Right. For clarification, Candace Owens is a grifter. That's very obvious. Candace Owens, she says stuff that she knows is inherently incorrect, basically for a big paycheck.
Maybe that applies to certain figures who are ostensibly progressive, and now, I mean, they still say they're progressive, but they're, mostly talking about right-wing stuff, or where they happen to agree with the right wing, maybe on trans issues or COVID or something. I don't know. I frankly don't know if this applies to Ana. It sounds like maybe she's sincerely changed her mind. I mean, she's consciously saying, I don't really associate myself with all.
I don't know that she's changed her mind. I think that she's just kind of lived in this area, and I mean, don't be wrong. She may have learned and grew and had some slight view changes, but I don't think by and large her mind has changed. I think that she's always been this way, and that people just don't. They want her to be more extreme or more far to the left, I guess.
All leftist views anymore. Maybe she. I mean, I don't know. I've changed. I mean, I haven't significantly changed. I don't think any of the policies I really support over the last few years, but living in a city as crime has gotten worse made me rethink, again, not like fundamentally change my outlook on criminal justice reform, but made me a little bit more inclined to go, well, maybe there's something that needs to be confronted here. Is that it's not a grift. It's just like the experience of life. I hadn't really thought about vaccine mandates very hard for most of my life, where I would have said you should have them for schools.
I'll tell you
and now I've thought about it. Now I have a radically different view on it.
Specifically, the argument.
Man, that guy did not want to let her talk.
About it being a grift is this. Ana has demonstrated a really competent understanding of why it is that the left, many people on the left, think it's perfectly reasonable and even good to respect people's pronouns, to use language that acknowledges what many in the mainstream and on the right characterize as goofy, if not harmful, things like the phrase birthing people, or the most recent controversy is referring to trans men as having bonus holes instead of vaginas because of their
Okay, I don't know what she's about to say about this. I just want to say that the bonus hole thing that's a very trans whatever thing, and great and within your community, but yeah, for other people, like people who are not trans, maybe that's probably a term. Bonus hole is likely a term that they likely don't want to use. Anyways,
dysmorphia, and
sorry.
Oh, the other part of that, really quick, is the comment on medically. I think there's a medical term, birthing persons. But yeah, in regular everyday conversation, to try to call women a birthing person, if they were doing that, it would be ridiculous. I don't think that was actually going on. But if that were the case, of course, that would be absolutely insane. I just don't think that it actually was the case. I don't have any, in my research of it, I didn't see any particular proof of that. But of course, my research could be limited, and I could not be seeing the full story.
Ana in the past, and I don't know if we have this clip, has articulated very clearly why, if you want to be accommodating or kind to those people, you can think dysmorphia is mental illness and characterize it however you want. But if you acknowledge that they obviously are having some dissonance with the way they were born versus how they feel that they are in a clinical setting, using language that is enabling them to get the health care they need, it's hard for me to see why any woman would have a problem with that. And then
okay, so yeah, in a clinical setting, of course, that makes sense. I don't think that she was having an issue with that. I think she was having an issue with something online. I do think that if it was said somewhere, it was probably in like one video or like some small corner of the internet, and it probably triggered her in a way. And some people may see that in and of itself as transphobia. I don't think that's transphobia. I can see if you're uncomfortable with something, like if you thought you were going to be referred a certain way, of making a comment about that and saying, okay, this is getting kind of ridiculous. I think that's fair. I don't think that's like inherent transphobia.
Kasparian has articulated that exact belief within like the last year, arguing against conservatives who would reject that kind of language. And now, without any real reckoning with that previous clip that's gone viral many times now, she has reversed course on that particular issue. And after years, I mean, Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is, you know, a real front runner in the online media space. After years of speaking very specifically and knowledgeably about any number of criminal justice issues, with the world being what it is for all of that time, crime didn't just come anew during this time. Nothing has really changed substantively in the way of the world. A sudden decision to say, well, the left just doesn't care about victims of crime. I mean, some people make that argument and they don't know better. The left's argument isn't that it's not.
Okay, so that's an extreme statement if that's what she said. I think I do remember Anna saying that, and let's be clear, I don't agree with everything Anna says, but yeah, I think that's a ridiculous statement. I can say that. I don't know that means that she's turned right. I just don't agree with her on that particular thing. That's not extremism at all. And if she does believe that, then she believes that. Maybe she's seen some things that, you know, that changed her mind. That's kind of an extreme statement in my opinion. But yeah, crime is a thing. It does happen, and it could have possibly been spurred on by the fact that she had been attacked before in the past.
Horrible when people are victims of crime on subways or in their communities. The left's argument isn't that we should let gun violence go unchecked because it would be bad to arrest people who murder. That's not what criminal justice reform is about. It's not what police abolition is about. It's not what any of this is about.
If she is trying to, if she's trying to insinuate that is what Anna was saying, and I think that's also not fair because Anna also wasn't saying that. Even if she made that previous comment, she wasn't saying all of those things together. But anyways,
the whole question is whether or not we can lower crime rates more effectively than throwing money at police budgets has done by addressing the root causes of the crime, right? And Anna knows that. So to know that, to have said that, to have articulated that so many times in the past, and now take a different approach where you characterize, I would argue mischaracterize what the left's agenda has been. The left agenda that you have been a part of is causing people to really wonder what's motivating that shift. And given that we live in a media climate where, like it or not, there is an enormous appetite for people who leave the left. Dave Rubin is often brought up as an example of this. People who say, I'm an independent thinker. I can't be put in a box.
I don't think that she's changed on crime as much as she agrees with certain things, and then there's something that the Young Turks probably agrees with on by and large, and that she just feels more comfortable with expressing her views on that more, to the point where she's fed up and she's saying things that are more extreme, like the left doesn't care about crime or whatever. That's kind of crazy. But either way, I still don't think that's grifting in any way. I think that's kind of a ridiculous take.
I'm willing to challenge the establishment. I'm really willing to challenge orthodoxies. Sometimes that's authentic and that's fine. But we also have to acknowledge that there's an appetite for that. And one wonders, given some of the struggles that all online creators have dealt with, especially in like the post kind of Bernie world on the left, whether or not there is an effort to attract a bigger audience by taking on subjects that are hot topics right now, and that the left typically has been on the less sexy side of.
Yeah, I mean, you would know that better than me. It from observing it from a distance, it looks to me like whatever the Bernie wave has crested, and it's harder to draw an audience by just by talking. I mean, we can tell from the kinds of things we talk about on this.
People's inability to afford rent, and their medical debt, and the cost of food, and the exorbitant cost of education. Yes, these are issues which poll as people's priorities, but which they don't seem especially interested in hearing about in a news context.
Yeah, or at least on YouTube, right? I mean,
sure,
the model for Anna's show and
it seems like the people are just getting tired of hearing the same thing with no change happening. So people are just, they're just kind of over it. That being said, I still don't think Anna's grifting. I think that she's incredibly honest, and she just thinks differently from the rest of the young, or Cenk at least, to some extent, and not even completely, just on some issues. Obviously, she's a different person. This tribalism nature has got to stop. This monolithic nature of, well, if you're on the Young Turks, you have to think the same way as your host or whatever. That has to stop, guys. Come on.
Our show, and you got to talk about what the viewers are interested in. So
Young Turks is hardly. I mean, there are a lot of different, very successful independent media shows that are still very supportive of trans rights and issues. So it's hardly the case that I think that, well, if you want Young Turks to survive, they've got to go
Is she not supportive of trans?
No, she is. She is. And the point that she's making in that clip is that she's still supportive.
I'm so glad that she said this. The Bria said this. This is so important to say, because the idea is that people go extreme to one side or the other side and say that she's all the way this or she's all the way this, and that's just ridiculous. Most of the other videos that I've seen have been doing that, which is why I want to review the one on the Hill, because I think the Hill is a little bit more honest in that respect, or at least Bria is.
It's people's rights to health care and to housing and all of those substantive rights, which I think is important. And I don't think it's useful to lump her in with your average.
We need some middle ground language to refer to some of the.
I can tell that she does not like Robby interrupting her. My dude, you're a nice guy, but you gotta stop interrupting her.
Requests or asks coming from activists on behalf of trans issues that to use terminology that is, again, cringe
but that's
or something.
The thing.
That's
Who's
not.
making the
I'm not gonna. I don't want to deride people as mentally. The conservatives will say, some conservatives, Matt Walsh, I believe, are mentally deranged. That's really mean and alienating and not true. And you shouldn't diagnose people from a distance.
Right.
Or also, no, we'll just say whatever
problem.
Anyone wants, no matter how awkward that language is.
But here's the problem. One UK cancer group, I think, so not our country and not indicative of the broader views even within that country, one group has a conversation about whether or not it would make trans men feel better to use terminology other than vagina when they don't identify as women. And suddenly, across the pond, Ana Kasparian, who ostensibly has all these other concerns as a leftist, is making that into a national case where she is saying, you don't refer to my vagina as a bonus hole, which nobody ever did, right? Like the whole.
And that would be the issue on Anna's part. I would think she would be wrong there. I agree. Like if somebody is not even talking to you, they're over here having their own conversation, for you to say that online. Yeah, I could see why that would cause some issues. Now, don't get me wrong. Expressing your views is totally fine, but just expressing your views in that way about something that doesn't concern you directly, yeah, that's a little bit problematic. Still not to the extreme that everybody online is trying to make it out to be, but you know.
Conversation is about whether or not trans men should have that term applied to them. And this really maps on to the earlier controversy she was engaged with in the spring, where she insisted that it was disrespectful to her to be referred to as a birthing woman. I think it's fine for her to articulate that she would prefer to be called a woman and not a birthing person.
Okay, and this is the one that I went into the most. The bonus hole, I saw a comment about it, but this was the main thing where everybody was flipping out at Anna about, that I just thought was absolutely ridiculous. You guys, please get a freaking life.
Person, or whatever she prefers to be called, Ana Kasparian, God bless, whatever she wants to be called. But it is dishonest to say that someone else who wants to be called something else is infringing on your self-identification by simply talking about their own self-identification.
She's spitting facts here. I agree with all this.
And that's why people were upset. No one could find the human being that once referred to Ana Kasparian as a birthing person. No one could source this person.
Right, because it doesn't exist. And this is what I found in my own research. I couldn't find that myself, which makes it wrong. Now, on the other side, people calling her transphobic is also ridiculous. Come on, guys, just stop with that nonsense.
Who allegedly has infringed upon her rights to self-identification by insisting on her being a birthing person other than a woman. I think we can all agree that her self-identification matters, and I'm happy to, and only have, referred to her as a woman. But now she and others seem to be infringing on other people's rights to be referred to as they want to be referred to. If Jordan Peterson, who was it that said that, who claimed that being called cis is a pejorative? Was it Jordan Peterson? It was someone from that world.
Elon said they were going to not.
That's fine.
I don't know.
You know, it's difficult to, I don't know how else one refers to, you know, if you want to be called, you know, a born biological man, a man, whatever.
I mean, I think the point of that was just to deny that the trans category exists.
Right, and that's the problem. And so the word cis doesn't exist because you want to stigmatize people who aren't trans or anything, but if you have a word trans and you're trying to identify, say that someone's not trans, you can say they're not trans. That's fine, I guess. But cis is just a word that means not trans.
Or you just say a woman.
Well, no. I wouldn't. Because the whole point of the matter is that trans women identify as women.
I would probably disagree with her on this. It's just a man or a woman. But somebody may think that that's transphobic in and of itself. I don't think that it is. I think I could support trans while still thinking that I would prefer to just be called a man, but that's just me.
They describe themselves and believe that they are and feel and experience the world as women. And so they want something that there's a term,
right.
a need for a term. Exactly. So the war against cis is not a war against their self-identification. It's really a war against trans people's right to identify as trans. And that's really illuminating. So when someone who like Elon or whomever,
you're a man, you're a trans man, etc.
No, that's like saying I have a yellow piece of paper and a white piece of paper, and I'm a paper and you're not because you're white paper. No, they're both paper, but this one's yellow and this one's white.
I think I disagree on that. I think that there is a difference. I think that there are default white papers, and that papers are usually by default white. And that if you printed something on yellow paper, that's okay. Just like usually people by default subscribe to the sex that they were born as, or the gender. I don't know the different terms. Either way, I don't think it's wrong to call somebody trans if they changed, or like if they literally transitioned. I don't think that you necessarily have to introduce a term for people who are, I guess, be straight, for lack of a better word, other than cis, or I guess would be just identify with the sex you were born with. This stuff is all kind of confusing. I'm not trying to make it too complicated, but yeah, there's a difference. There's nothing wrong with there being a difference or something out of the norm. It's just about respecting the thing that's different, you know?
That's paper.
This is also
That's
paper.
Yellow paper.
This is also paper, and unless you're saying, and you have every right to say this, unless you're saying that in no way, shape, or form does anybody's identity matter, and if you're a trans woman, you're really a man, and that's a stance that a lot of people have.
You're a trans woman.
Right, but they're both paper. They're both women is the argument.
No, I agree with Rob with this. Yeah, you're a trans man. You know, that's fine. You know what I mean? You say you're a man, you're a trans man. You could also say they're a man, I suppose. But I think identifying the straight person, if I'm not even in the conversation, me being straight, and saying I have to be labeled cis, I don't necessarily agree fully with that. But I do think, yeah, you can call a trans man either a man or a trans man. I think that's fine.
Both women, one's a cis woman and one's a trans woman.
What we're saying is we don't need really a separate category for this, which is like, we would stack the papers up to the ceiling versus like 3 of those. And we're not trying to disinclude the yellow papers.
You literally are. Not you,
no,
but I'm saying
I'm not saying the yellow paper is...
It's paper.
It's yellow paper.
You're dancing around trying to avoid calling this thing paper. It is paper.
Whatever. I don't care.
But you don't have to agree with it.
No, I'm avoiding calling this stack some other terminology here. It's just paper.
Look, I think it's evident from this hypothetical, that this example, exactly what the issue is here. So just own it. People can own Anna, whomever. I don't think Anna believes this. I don't think that she believes that trans women... Well, I don't know what she believes anymore, but I wouldn't have thought that she would believe that trans women don't have the right to identify as women. If everyone respects self-identification, if the issue is Anna's ability to identify as a woman with a vagina, then it's also a trans person's right to identify as a woman with a vagina if they've post-op, or a woman with a penis, or a woman who can give birth, and all these things that I know sound silly because they go against what our understanding of the world and the sex binary has.
Yeah, okay, listen, there's differences are okay. It is okay for there to be a default. It is okay for there to be something that is the standard, and then something else that can be different can come in, and then we should also respect that thing. But let's not pretend like it's not different. It is different. Like, come on, guys.
Been that we were all raised with and has been existent in some form or another in Western society since time immemorial. I say Western society because there have been differences in different societies that have had more more sex categories than that.
I think we can accommodate without reinventing the original term, is what I would stress.
Yes, I agree completely with Robby. Yep.
Right.
But you struggle to do that even with the example of the paper.
I'll do whatever I'm doing for this.
I don't So when she frames it like struggling to do that with paper, it's not a struggle. Most paper isn't yellow. Most paper is definitely white. You wouldn't call the white paper white. It would just be referred to as paper. You would say otherwise, hey, let me get that yellow paper over there. That it's natural to do that, and I think that that's okay.
Sake of, I'm trying to present the conservative or the position.
Yeah, and I
on
understand.
this.
I know you're steel manning this, and I think that's helpful, and I appreciate you doing that.
I don't think he's just steel manning. I think he absolutely believes that. I think he's trying to be careful by saying that he's steel manning.
But the question, like, I just want to be really clear. I don't think that Ana Kasparian or anybody in the world is wrong to have feelings about how they are described in the world. You can have that. But at a certain point, you have to acknowledge that other people's self-identification may have implications for you. If I want to identify as the greatest person on earth, you might have feelings about that if you think that you're the greatest person on earth, or maybe you think your mom is the greatest person on earth. So my self-ID is going to abut your sense of how that reflects on everybody else, right?
Right.
And so you have to make a decision. It's within your right to say, Briahna, I'm not going to call you the greatest person on earth because I don't agree with that. And that's fine. But don't pretend like that my right is still to self-identify that way. And everyone has to make a decision in a society about whether or not they want to be polite, gracious, kind to people who are in different places, and But if I meet Muhammad Ali, if I were to have met Muhammad Ali, I'm not going to be like, you're not the greatest, actually. You know what I mean?
I kind of get the point that she's making, but I don't know if that argument really fully works, because if somebody's not the greatest, then they're just not the greatest. There's a such things as subjective statements and opinions and things that you hold to be your own. So if I was, now I'm still mean, if I was transphobic or something like that, and I wanted to say, oh, well, you're not really a guy, you're a woman who switched over to a guy, that's technically my right to do that. I can, but it's my right, but it's still a morally wrong thing to do, probably, right? Now, to say that about like you're the greatest of all time, okay, that's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot more subjective and a whole lot more opinionated and a whole lot more. I guess that's more playful. Yeah, we can kind of fight over that a little bit. You know what I mean? We can have an ideological debate over that. But when it comes to trans people, that's you're introducing a situation where we're being rude, disrespectful, etc. To LGBTQ or trans people, and that shouldn't be the case. Anyways, all that to say, I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Guys, Anna's not transphobic. She's not moving to the right. She has said some things I don't agree with, but all the ridiculous comments. Yes, she is leaving the left. That is for sure. She definitely said that. But like saying that she's moving all the way to the right is ridiculous. She never said that. Matter of fact, if you go find her statement, she wrote a statement online about this. She's gonna be making more content that is rooted in seeking truth specifically. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, guys. Anyways, I'll catch you guys next time. If you can, please like and subscribe. This video is this channel is very new, so I'm trying to get this thing moving. But I appreciate you guys so much. Catch you next time.